In a recent post, Alex Hormozi seems to suggest that if you want to succeed in online business, you basically have to forego 10 years of your life. No enjoyment, no fun, just work. But that's not exactly true, at least not if you redefine what success is. You define it on your terms. You can build a business that replaces your 9-to-5 income, makes multiple 6 or 7 figures a year, allows you to live the life that you want, and impacts a lot of people, and you don't have to give up 10 years of enjoyment to do it. So in this video, I'm gonna read through his post, we're gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna give you a different way of looking at this so that if you're new to online business and you're following guys like Alex Hormozi, who I like and respect and have read his books and recommend him to follow. But if you're looking at this and you're a little overwhelmed by the idea that the next 10 years of your life, you're not gonna be able to go to even a friend's wedding, this video might help you to realize you can still succeed without that. So let's dive in. Here's what he says. This was 3 days ago on LinkedIn. 2014, my second gym, United Fitness, 600,000 in revenue. 2024, my private equity firm, acquisition.com, $250 million portfolio revenue. The secret, no distractions for 10 years. No meaningless purchases for 10 years. No clubbing for 10 years. No fantasy football for 10 years. No friends' weddings for 10 years. You better start now because it takes way longer than you think. Just win. So that's the entire post. And this has gotten a lot of attention from people who are like either saying, yes, this is exactly what it takes. I'm with you, Alex. If I want to win, I've got to do what you do. I'm inspired by it. And other people who say hustle culture is crazy. This is just way too much. I mean, you're not even going to a friend's wedding for 10 years. I can't even believe that somebody would suggest this. I've even seen people say like, this is dangerous rhetoric. I think it's fine for him to say what worked for him. I think it's fine for him to say what he suggests that other people should do. And I'm just going to have a different opinion. I would like to hear from you. Before I give you my opinion, I would like to hear from you in the comments. How does this hit you? When you see, you better start now because it takes way longer than you think, just win. And the way you win is no distractions, no meaningless purchases, no clubbing, no fantasy football, no friends wedding, basically no enjoyment. However you define enjoyment for 10 years, if you want to have success online, how does that hit you? Let me know in the comments below. So I want to look at a couple of things here. First, the difference in his success in those 10 years is incredibly notable. From $600,000 in revenue to $250 million in a portfolio revenue in 10 years is pretty amazing. And so I do want to mention that if you want to do massive things like what he's describing and what he's done, it does take a level of determination and grit and focus. Because basically what he's saying here is 10 years of hyper focus is what it takes to succeed in this massive, massive way. And a lot of people follow this same path. If you look at Elon Musk, there are times in his life where he slept on the floor at his, where he worked and then coded for 18 hours a day and built his businesses. And so it is one way to approach success. If you are wired that way, if you want to do that, it's not the life that I want. It's not the life that anybody who probably considers me a coach or a mentor wants, because I've just never lived that way. And I don't want to live that way. I look at it this way. I don't need $250 million in portfolio revenue. I don't even halfway know what that means. I don't need to know what it means because it doesn't take $250 in a portfolio for me to be happy and for me to have a wonderful life where I am free and autonomous and can make my own decisions and be generous. That's all I've ever wanted. And you don't need $250 million to get there. But it is worth noting that if it is your goal to succeed in this wild way, then yes, it does take this kind of sacrifice. It just does. Now, let's back up a little bit and talk about the kind of thing that I teach, which is online business. Taking something that you know, a skill, an experience, a set of expertise that you have, and taking that online teaching it, and then offering for people to purchase products from you to go further and deeper. Courses, coaching, membership sites, things like that. If that's what you want to do, it does not take this. It just doesn't. You don't have to take 10 years of your life and say, I'm not even going to attend a friend's wedding. You just don't have to do that. What would a 10-year period of growing a business look like in the kind of business that I teach? Well, I can tell you because I've basically done that. Let's look at my 10-year period, which is very different than Alex. I also started in 2014. I started a business called Preaching Donkey. Now, here's the main difference. In 2014, when I started Preaching Donkey, which was a website, still exists, YouTube channel, podcast, all that, courses, coaching. But it was just at the time, a blog where I was sharing my ideas with other pastors, because I was a pastor at the time, sharing my ideas with other pastors on how to preach better, how to preach with clarity, how to preach with confidence. And that was all that was back in 2014. And I didn't necessarily know that I was starting an online business. I just started a blog. And over time, that grew to, I added a podcast to it. Then I wrote a book, this one right here, and it did very well. It was a #1 bestseller on Amazon in its category, not the New York Times, but in its category on Amazon. And so that was the first time that my little project started making me money. And that was 2016. So already I'm very behind Alex, okay? Because he started in 2014 and he had $600,000 in revenue. And by 2016, who knows where he was? It was probably, 10x that by that point. But I was, here's where I was. I was selling a book, okay? And then in 2019, I launched my first course, and now it's kind of turned into a business. By 2019 is when I really got serious about making this thing not just a blog, not just a podcast, not just a YouTube channel, not just a book. By 2019, I'd written a second book, but I really wanted a course because I wanted to be someone who was equipping pastors at every level, whether it's they want to read a book or they would like to buy a course and go much more in depth, or they need one-on-one coaching. I wanted to provide all of it. And I had a goal, one single solitary goal, and that was to free myself from needing to have a job. I was like, if this online business can make me enough money to just not have to answer to someone else and ask another person permission to take time off work and have my entire December filled up with a church activity after church project if I just could free myself from having to answer to anyone else for my time, then I have wildly succeeded. So again, Alex Hormozi and I have very different goals. He's trying to take over the world. I'm trying to set myself free and help as many people along the way as I can. And that's great. And by the way, him taking over the world, he's helped a lot of people, a whole heck of a lot of people, including me. And that's awesome. I'm cheering him on. But for me, I just had a much, much different goal. So by 2019, launched my first course, launched another one shortly after that. And by mid-2020, I went full-time with that business. What does that mean? It means that I was able to leave my job, right? Everybody is always wondering, when do you make enough money? How do you know when you can leave your job? If you're making your living online, when can you leave? And for me, it's honestly just a math problem, right? I was looking at here's the entire package that the church pays me in a month, and if I can replace that online, then okay, good. I don't need the job anymore. And I actually left shortly before that happened because I knew that if I had more time to dedicate to it, not punting my life for 10 years, but just a full-time effort, 30, 40 hours a week, I could make this thing work. And so I left my job and the business started to grow. That was mid-2020. Well, the business grew over time where now it's a $25,000 to $30,000 to $35,000 a month situation that I've got going on here. And that is far less than $250 million in portfolio revenue. But compared to what I used to make as a pastor, which was nowhere near $30,000 a month, but it was enough. And now the business is making 25 to 30, and in some cases up to close to 35 in a month. It's enough. It's like more than enough. And it didn't take any of what he's saying. I had plenty of distractions over the last 10 years. In fact, the biggest distractions to my business that I had are my 4 beautiful daughters. Like, I had 4 kids. Well, my wife had 4 kids, but I was there for each one of them. Both the production and the execution of the entire event. I was there for it all. And we've raised, our oldest kid is now 10. She was born right when I started preaching donkey. And our youngest is 5. So in this 10-year period of growing a multiple 6-figure business, leaving my job, going full-time, helping hundreds of other people start businesses, especially like what I do on Kajabi, I had 4 kids. That's a massive distraction. I would guess Alex Hormozi would say, yeah, if you're really serious about your business, delay having kids. I just wasn't willing to do that. No meaningless purchases. Well, here's the thing. I don't like to buy things meaningless anyway, so that's not really an issue for me. Like, for example, I'm a car enthusiast. I love cars. I have 1 car. We are a 1-car family. We have 1 car, and there's 6 people in our house. We're not going to be able to do that forever, but it's kind of fun for the last 3 years because I work at home on the business. My wife works with me here at the house on the business. None of our kids drive yet, so we don't need more than 1 car, like almost ever. And if we ever need a second car, we just rent one. So we're missing out on all that expense and hassle of having a second car. And the 1 car I do have is a freaking minivan. And it's a nice one. Don't get me wrong. It's a really nice one, but it's a minivan. So as a enthusiast of cars, like in my spare time, I'll sit around and just look at cars because I love them, but I still don't buy them. So no meaningless purchases, no clubbing for 10 years. I don't even know the last time I went clubbing. Like, just never was a thing for me. But I like to go out with friends. I guess if he's talking about that, like going out with friends. Okay, I've done that plenty of times. No fantasy football. I don't care about fantasy football, but he's like, I guess you could say, like, having a hobby that's unrelated to business that takes up your time and mental space. No friends' weddings. Yeah, I've been to a lot of friends' weddings, and I've conducted a lot of weddings because I'm a pastor, and so I do weddings. So I'm just saying, I don't have $250 million in revenue, but I have a multiple 6-figure business, and I have a ton of time freedom. No one is telling me what to do or when to do it, where to be or when to be there. And for me, that is all I wanted. I look at what he's built. I mean, this massive acquisition.com building, this is insane. It's so big. It's so nice. Look at that. Like, that's incredible. Looks like a freaking convention center. And that's awesome. I'm so intimidated by that. I would have no idea how to do that, nor would I want to. So if your goals are in line with what Alex Hormozi is saying, by all means, go for it. Punt the next 10 years of your life, stay focused, and build the next Amazon or whatever. But if you just want some extra money on the side, all the way up to replacing your income and then giving you a better life than you ever could have imagined, because right now I'm making more money than I ever have and more money than I ever really thought I would make. And it's nice. It's nice to make a lot of money. And again, I'm making way, 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 way less than him. And I might be making less than you. And so it's all relative. But to me, I'm very comfortable and doing great and happy. And it didn't take this. You don't have to sacrifice everything just to have the life you want. You can do it in a methodical, slow and steady wins the race way. And it can be something that you do in addition to living your freaking life, because you don't know, you could die tomorrow and it'd be all over. And you skipped the wedding. You didn't go have fun and dance at the wedding. You didn't have a fantasy football team. You never made a purchase because it was fun. Like, I don't know. You got to live your life. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'm close to 40. I'll be 40 in January. And so I'm thinking along these terms. You know, you start to think like you don't have forever. LaneSebring.com/workshop is where I can show you how to do what I've done. And here's the cool thing. You're going to do it way faster than me. For me, it took a long time, mostly because I didn't know what I was doing, but you're going to know what you're doing. LaneSebring.com/workshop, the Turn What You Know into Dough workshop, where I'm going to show you how to make your first $1,000 a month. Are you going to get to 250 million? Maybe. I'm not the one to show you how to do that because I've never done it, but I can show you how to get that first $1,000 a month consistently. And then from there, you can begin to build it. And one day, replace your income if you want, leave your job if you want, live on your own terms if you want, be happy, be free, and impact a lot of people. LaneSebring.com/workshop. But you might be like, okay, well, if I'm not going to do this, then what should I be doing? And I'll show you in this video right here.